From infamous names throughout history to modern-day celebrities, there is a rabbit hole that seems to uncover one very common and very demonic red pill. Celebrity demonic possession. According to Wikipedia, demonic possession involves the belief that an alien spirit, demon, or entity controls a person's actions. But is demonic possession a prerequisite in order to become a celebrity? Or does becoming a celebrity open people up to some level of possession? So grab your holy water and join Edge of Wonder as we follow the White Rabbit into the alleged world of celebrity possession. Part 1. Deal with the Devil.
Welcome back to Edge of Wonder. I'm your host, Rob.
No, Rob, I think I'm the host, Ben.
Actually, Ben, we both are. And we both have such a great passion for sharing the truth with no other agendas. That's why there's no competition between us for who's the host or what information we want to put out.
Well, speak for yourself, okay? Well, some people are very competitive and will do anything to get what they want. Rob and I just have a heart to do deep dives into the craziest subjects, give the research due diligence, and share what we find. So, without further ado, what did we find this week?
Well, there are videos going around about celebrities being possessed, if you can believe that. And that got us thinking, are these accounts real? What does demonic possession even look like? And do I look demonically possessed when I'm at a wedding and pulling out my most radical dance moves?
I sure hope not.
Me too.
Well, hold on to your hats, people, because we found evidence of demonic possession in literally every aspect of society. We found it in actors, politicians, musicians. Figures from the past, and the connections between all of them absolutely blew our minds.
I mean, is it a prereq that you have to be demonically possessed to become a celebrity?
It kind of seems like it
I
in
know.
most cases.
Or does becoming a celebrity in our deep state controlled society automatically open these people up to some level of possession? How does that process even happen? Well, you're about to find all of that out.
Yeah, and just like vampires, what we call demons are only allowed to come into your energy if you invite them. They need your consent. Now, there are people who accidentally let them in,
but there are plenty of people who did it on purpose.
That's for sure.
Probably the most well-known case of that is with a guy named Robert Johnson. He was bad at singing, bad at guitar, apparently talentless, and the only thing he could play decently was the harmonica.
But he desperately wanted to be great, like the other blues singers down in Mississippi.
After disappearing for a number of months, he suddenly turned back up and asked to try to perform again at his old haunts. Pun intended. Performers like Willie Brown and Son House said he used to sound so terrible, people would practically beg him to stop.
But when Johnson reappeared, suddenly people went from wanting to throw tomatoes to those same crowds cheering his name.
All of a sudden, he was an incredible blues player, possibly the best one who had ever lived. Everyone who knew Robert Johnson says that he went down to where highways 49 and 61 crossed, and he made a crossroads deal.
Crossroads? Like, you know, Britney Spears kind of crossroads?
Yes, I am so sorry that you watched that or you know about that.
I actually have no idea.
Yes, we're about to talk about 3 teenage girls who learn about the power of friendship on a cross-country road trip.
The only reason why I know that is because my ex-girlfriend liked that movie. That's all I know of that
Get
movie.
you every time. No, Britney does not come up in this episode of the Celebrity Possession series, but right now I'm talking about a specific kind of crossroads deal with the devil.
Yeah, they actually made a movie, a modern movie about Johnson's life with Ralph Macchio, you know, the guy from Karate Kid in the 80s, but it didn't really do really well at all. So they tried to make it like a time period piece movie, but then, you know, at the end of the movie, he has an electric guitar battle with Steve Vai. It was just really bizarre. Anyway, Johnson traded his soul for fantastic music abilities, the likes of which no one has ever seen. People think he's the whole reason rock and roll actually came into being. I mean, he kicked it off, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
The great blues guys of the time, Honey DeVille, Robert Jr. Lockwood, Son House, and Johnny Shines knew him and said Johnson was up front about his deal. He didn't even have to practice. He just sat down to play and knew the songs and how to play them automatically. Johnson's lyrics even admitted to walking side by side with the devil.
Yeah, you know, in that same song, he talks about beating his woman. He's like, I'm walking side by side with the devil and I'm beating my woman.
That sounds terrible.
And this is like from the 1920s. So weird. Yeah, so he had other songs too, like Hellhound on My Trail, Crossroad Blues, and Me and the Devil Blues. Did it weigh on his mind that his talent was due to his demonic deal? What are with these song titles? He did have to pay up in the end. He was the first member of the 27 Club.
And that's a weird pattern of celebrities dying at age 27, right?
It sure is.
Johnson was all, wah, I stink at music. My stepdad's mean to me. I want to be famous. I'm gonna run away.
I'm sure he said it just like that too.
So Johnson sold his soul, and then he had to pay up when he turned 27.
Yeah, I mean, I understand teen independence and being moody, and he was a black man in the South during that time, so I can see turning to music to escape this hard life. But there's a big difference between that and literally making a deal with a demon. I mean, even when you see that famous black and white photo of him, it looks like there's some kind of like demon or alien-esque face next to him. And even his own family said that when his mother died during childbirth, that it was punishment for his singing the secular song.
What's interesting about Johnson's story is that it's apparently not a secret at all. He's even admired for it. Keith Richards and Eric Clapton called him the greatest singer-songwriter and player of all time. Richards thought Johnson was 2 or 3 guitar players when he first heard him. So that speaks even more to multiple entities coming through if you think about it from that perspective.
Think about it that way.
Clapton and Bob Dylan even covered Johnson's Crossroad Blues song.
Wow, and then don't forget about Jimi Hendrix, who's also inspired by him and happened to die at 27 as well. But we'll get into him later. Even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame talks about Johnson's demonic deal, and his whole story is even included in the show Supernatural, which is full of ton of truths. So don't think we're haters, but really when you look at it, it's all about demons, evil, Lucifer, and sometimes twists good things to be bad and bad things to be good. This show came up repeatedly in our possession research.
We did find an account of a Tommy Johnson who went to a crossroads before midnight and performed guitar there until a big black man showed up and tuned the guitar. After that, Tommy played like no man alive, or to us it sounded like eerie yodeling. Anyway, the Clooney movie Oh Brother Where Art Thou directly referenced Tommy's deal.
But Tommy Johnson wasn't related to Robert Johnson, and since it's literally our job to look into conspiracy theories...
And I mean, can I just say that looking into conspiracy theories is the coolest job anyone could ever have?
It's kind of true, but somehow we went down a rabbit hole of other things related to Robert. His burial place is apparently not known for sure, but one possible location has an obelisk as his gravestone. That made us look at what other deep state connections or symbolism might be involved with this demon dealing dude. If there's an obelisk, there's gotta be more, right?
Well, according to one of Johnson's songs, the show Supernatural, the Eric Clapton or Cream song Crossroads, and a song by Lucinda Williams, Johnson's deal apparently went down in Rosedale, Mississippi. But the crossroads of Highways 49 and 61, where he supposedly went to make the deals, is in Clarksdale, not Rosedale. So what's the deal?
Yeah, so we looked into Clarksdale and found that it's essentially ground zero for blues. Interestingly enough, Morgan Freeman created the Ground Zero Blues Club there and used to have a restaurant in Clarksdale. He's apparently contributed to art and culture there for decades.
Interesting. And people like Elvis Costello, Dan Aykroyd, and Paul Simon have made their way to this Ground Zero Blues Club. Morgan Freeman said his goal was to sell the blues and Mississippi to keep tourism up. I guess the devil went down to Georgia, but he hooked a left and headed to Mississippi, you know what I'm saying? And that song's got its own leads, but we had to leave it at the joke, basically.
Now, we can't say anything for sure about Morgan Freeman, but it is interesting that he's always painted as a great guy, like Tom Hanks or Bill Cosby or Mr. Rogers. And man, if it comes out that Mr. Rogers is one of these guys, like, my world ended.
Seriously. Seriously.
I really hope that. Yeah, I believe that he's not. There's this good guy club of celebrities, and we have to figure out who the fakers are, pretty much in the bunch.
Morgan Freeman even played God in Bruce Almighty, and in the way lamer Evan Almighty, but painting him as a literal God figure sends up a major red flag. Not to mention how his last name is an Illuminati bloodline name, according to Deep State researcher Fritz Springmeier. So we dug into Morgan Freeman, and we found out that his step-granddaughter died at age 33, an important Deep State number. Now, the news said her boyfriend was performing an exorcism on her and stabbed her multiple times as he commanded demons to get out of her. What?
Yeah, that's not weird. Well, it's, as you can tell, it's a pretty murky story. The boyfriend's mother claimed that Morgan Freeman molested his granddaughter and her son was trying to exorcise her. But he may have also just been on the drugs. So was she really possessed? Was he? I mean, we don't know. It's weird possession was involved in this poor woman's death, though. I mean, it really is bad.
And
sad.
we just have to say, we make no claims about Morgan Freeman's character here. We're just revealing what we found, which is that all these things overlap: music, acting, even past and present.
Yeah. Take probably the most famous case of demonic possession and cursing in America's past, one that almost nobody believes has truth: the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on that, remember? The Deep State has tons of connections to the Salem witch trials, and there really may have been girls who were cursed or possessed by demons in Salem. So why are we bringing this up again if we talked about it before?
Well, the Deep State still has a permanent residence in Salem. Why would they give up connections to a place so steeped in demonic history? Now, that doesn't mean people who live in Salem are evil by any means. They've worked hard to make it a nice place to live and hang out. But there are bad apples in the Deep State who take advantage of good things and places people care about.
Yeah, I mean, you see people dressed up in costumes in Salem all year round, or as goths who didn't get the memo that phase ended a few decades ago, but that's neither here nor there. Some of the people might not even know that the satanic symbols they're using are there and what they truly mean.
Did you know that the Satanic Temple set up shop in Salem? They have a headquarters and meetings in what's labeled on Google as an art gallery.
Okay.
And this group is totally bonkers.
Yeah, they bring their group into elementary schools as clubs. They call themselves political activists and promote abortion, and they have wicked weird connections.
Elementary? I mean, seriously, like elementary schools, this is just crazy. Those kids are, I mean, this is like...
They're like 5 to 11 years old, man.
It's insane. I mean, talked about indoctrination at a young age.
Yeah, and on social media, they mock possession. These people mock possession. The Satanic Temple made fun of an Indian holy man kissing people's hands to perform COVID exorcisms. They mock this kind of thing because there are people in India trying to perform COVID exorcisms or spread around positive healing energy. And the Satanic Temple either doesn't believe in that or they don't want others to.
Yeah, maybe there is something to exorcising an illness from someone, but we think it should be up to the people to decide, not the Satanic Temple.
Yeah, and how do we know the Satanic Temple is truly negative? Well, aside from promoting crazy stuff on their Twitter and website, we found they actually have a feud with the Church of Satan, who they also mock.
All right, well, the Satanic Temple frames itself as a science-aligned, rights-protecting, non-authoritarian, peaceful, socio-political growing group. And the Satanic Temple actually claims right on their website that neither they nor the Church of Satan believes in Satan.
I mean, say what? Is that not an important part of their culty, anti-religious group? Are they just trying to make themselves sound more legit to recruit more members? What is going on here?
Probably, and also to be able to carry out their agendas, because the Satanic Temple apparently combats pseudoscience by denying satanic ritual abuse, talking about false memories in children, denouncing the satanic panic that started in the 80s, and critiquing groups like SMART, or Stop Mind Control and Ritual Abuse Today, as well as calling survivors of child abuse, mind control, ritual abuse, and satanic ritual abuse liars.
Their agenda is very clear just from that. And we know, though, that all of these methods of abuse open people up to what? Demonic possession. So who exactly is leading this demonic three-ring circus of a satanic temple?
Well, we found some crazy stuff about the creator of the Satanic Temple, Doug Mesner. Quote, I recall Doug Mesner telling me the CIA had asked him to write some private reports for them. Maybe in my most paranoid state, I could run with and ramble about the possibilities there. More likely, the Satanic Temple is just the act of a group of social and career climbers using slick psychological marketing tricks in the traditions of Edward Bernays to meet their ends.
Quote, but at the least, I think anyone could question and everyone should question the intent of a guy from wealth and without ties to the occult as to why he has decided to fund a satanic religion while pulling the strings of a guy who has such a brilliant mind, who has studied the science of the mind at one of the top learning facilities in the world, and maybe, just maybe, you could come up with the same conclusion I have, that the Satanic Temple has ulterior motives above and beyond helping mankind or making a movie. Smart's Ritual Abuse Pages.
So is this guy a useful idiot, or did he let demons into himself and his group? I mean, he is promoting demonology to children. It seems like it would be difficult to avoid encountering demons at all if you surround yourself with all that satanic symbolism, ideology, and contacts. I mean,
speaking of contacts, a lot of people think that this guy wears one, but his eye is actually just messed up, and we're not making fun of anyone's genuine eye problems here. He said so himself on his Twitter. Quote, my eye is actually scarred, but I'm happy to learn that this disfigurement might have the appearance of a fashion statement, unquote.
Fashion statement? I mean, that kind of, in some ways, it kind of makes me think of Donald Marshall and how he talks about the vril. I mean, I don't know what kind of like satanic fashion statement. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, he looks a lot like Johnny Depp with the fake contact and the satanic fantastic beasts and where to find them. Or like David Bowie with his weird eye as well.
I wasn't even gonna bring up Bowie yet, but I guess now we will, because while we don't know for sure Doug Mesner / Lucian Graves / Douglas Misico, whatever, this guy's got a lot of friggin' aliases, has made any deals with the devil, but we think Bowie definitely could have at one point.
So Bowie was a musician, but he was also an actor. Remember that movie Labyrinth from the 80s?
How could I forget, Ben?
Seriously.
That hair, all that cheesy puppetry.
And the songs.
Yes.
Well, if you look into history, Bowie's character in the movie was actually a metaphor for Pan, the demonic pagan god of pedophilia, sexual perversion, bestiality, and rape.
And what's interesting is that the movie starts with a kid reading from a book and later wishes for her baby brother to disappear because she's fed up with him. But this causes the Goblin King, aka David Bowie, to show up. He has to get her permission to take the baby away. When she refuses, he gives her 13 hours to solve his labyrinth before he gets to keep the baby forever as one of his goblins. What the heck?
Seriously.
In all of our research, we see this theme again and again, and if you ask for things to come in, they will. Don't forget that. And they need your permission to do so.
So why do we care about this kid's movie? Well, it has these truths in it about demons, and it also tells us more about Bowie. We know that the deep state uses fiction as a protection against truths. They know that most people won't believe it if they say it outright in the open or get you to mock it.
What's that saying? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. There really are cursed or powerful objects out there, like the Book and Labyrinth, for instance, or like the Relics of Power in our docuseries on edgeofwonder.tv, or like Gollum's precious ring in LOTR.
Precious.
Oh no, don't even go there. So freaky.
And there are people whose roles in movies are their song lyrics tell truths about them personally. David Bowie reportedly said, and to be fair, it's very hard to confirm this, that when he was in Japan and talking about his audiences, he said, "All those little boys are so cute. I just want to take them up to my room." He also said that, quote, "My overriding interest was in Kabbalah and Crowleyism, that whole dark, rather fearsome netherworld of the wrong side of the brain."
We know the deep state is into the magic behind Kabbalah mysticism, and we know Aleister Crowley is one of the most demonic people you could ever mention. Bowie even bought Crowley's home near Loch Ness Lake. So why was Bowie talking and singing about how great he was?
Crowley promoted the concept "do what thou wilt," aka do whatever the heck you want, regardless of the people you hurt or the consequences in doing these things. Doing what feels good in the moment is the most important thing. He was a satanic whack job who was asking for demons to come in. He was even talking to demons.
Not to mention, we see the connection with Weird Eyes again. They say the eyes are a window into the soul, and Crowley had the Sanpaku eyes going on majorly amidst other things. Now, we don't name any names on YouTube or we'll get kicked off of there, but there are quite a few politicians we've been seeing in the news lately with wild eyes, and you'll have to wait for the .tv episode for that madness.
True. So Bowie, he said, "Rock is the devil's music." Quote, "I feel that we're only heralding something even darker than ourselves. I believe that rock and roll is dangerous. It could well bring about a very evil feeling in the West. That's where I see it heading, bringing about the dark era." Now, he reportedly drew satanic pentagrams on his walls and made hexes, and we found out that his different eye seemed to have connections to demonic possession he referred to, but, you know, it's kind of hard to say.
So if you can believe this, Bowie actually didn't have two different colored eyes. One pupil just doesn't dilate, and he was more likely to get red eye. What's crazy is that everyone said Bowie and his friend George Underwood were fighting over a girl in the early 60s, and George punched him so badly that it permanently messed up his eye.
That's probably more likely what happened, but it's hard to say. Yet Bowie was totally okay with it, and they remained friends and even performed together in bands. And Bowie was actually thankful for the mystique it gave him and his looks.
When we look into George, it was super weird too. He became a freelance artist who also did Bowie's album covers. And George was influenced by artists he equated to Bruegel and Bosch, two absurdist painters who made some of the most demonic artwork ever.
That's true.
Go check it out if you don't think that's true.
George's own art has funky energy behind it for sure. We know that there's a music agenda with the deep state because they keep rubbing it in our faces. But there's also an art agenda pushing us to more chaos and less beauty. According to Bowie, quote, "Now that a huge shift to painting is taking place, I would expect to see George's name pushed further and further to the front."
And Bowie's eye doesn't change in response to light? Sounds awfully metaphorical to me. His ability to see the light was blocked. And this is the second guy we heard about who has both connected to demonic things and also said that he was thankful for the look his eye gave him.
Even his song, "The Width of a Circle," was about making a demonic deal. But was Bowie the only rocker to talk about this stuff? Heck no. The biggies are all tied up in demonic things.
And we're not talking about Biggie Smalls, although he may have been too. We're talking about the big celebrities. Dave Mustaine of Megadeth and Metallica said he hexed a bully and cast a spell on a girl to sleep with him when he was a teenager. He made blood pacts with people and did satanic things when he drank. He included certain demonic chords in his music too.
Yeah, and there's rumor that he was kicked out of Metallica for being a heroin addict and a satanic worshiper, so that's why they supposedly pushed him out. But he did apparently come to God and won't sing certain songs now or make blood pacts. Quote, "I don't want to make a spiritual covenant, mixing my life with somebody else's I don't know who they are, how they are. The Bible said that blood is life. I think that I'm more dangerous now that I've become a Christian than I ever was before when I was trying to go the opposite route because I'm armed with the truth now.
We won't go into why on YouTube, but Mustaine apparently doesn't like Obama or Kerry either, and some of his songs expose the Illuminati and alien agendas, if you can believe that.
Yeah, Hangar 18 is one of them. But more people in the same musical genre have referenced demons too. Marilyn Manson was on Celebrity Ghost Stories and talked about reading from the Necronomicon, an evil textbook of magic. This book got his friend's satanic brother to mutilate animals in their barn, and it brought all sorts of demonic energy to Manson when he read from it, and we've heard a lot of personal stories about Manson that we won't get into here.
The weirdest part of all, Manson and his friends read from the Necronomicon in an unfinished house where they wouldn't be seen by anyone, but when they returned there on another day, the house was apparently gone.
The next day, I said, let's go find that book and let's get it back, because I think that we have unleashed something terrible. So during the daytime, we went back through the whole trek, and none of it seemed scary during the daytime. We get back to where the woods were, and we follow the path, and there's a clearing, you know, where we saw the structure, the house and the cellar. And there was nothing there. It just didn't exist. It was gone. And no one has an explanation for it. The fact that it disappeared, like it was some sort of evil oasis in the middle of the night, I think was directly related to our behavior.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stories that we've heard personally from people who know him. Manson said he grew up hearing scary, disembodied voices around him and looked into things he says he maybe shouldn't look into.
Yeah, you think?
In his interview, he actually seemed like a tired, beaten down guy. I guess I'd get pretty exhausted too if I were constantly haunted by demons like he is. And I mean,
Seriously.
and think how many people are like, anyway, I mean, I used to be obsessed with Marilyn Manson back in the day, so I understand how that works.
I never fell for that crap.
And, you know, I was like, I didn't like it, but it was like something was making me drawn to it. There's so much dark energy in it.
I was just like, this is the lamest guy I've ever seen. How is everyone obsessed with him?
I thought the same thing too, though. I'm like, well, and I was like, okay, if Marilyn Manson can make it, I can make it too.
Oh, I see.
And
That's why.
And it took,
Because you were like, if this lame tard can make it.
yeah, if some like devil dude thing, you know. And then I started sobering up, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to Marilyn Manson anymore. That was a long time ago. That was before even the 2000s. So.
Anyway, Black Sabbath's Geezer Butler was into this stuff too. He hung upside-down crosses on his walls, painted his rooms black, read Crowley's books, and read satanic magazines to invoke the devil. And Black Sabbath's reunion album, liner notes, apparently say Black Sabbath was launched in the US with a party in San Francisco with the head of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, presiding over proceedings. All of a sudden, Sabbath were Satan's right-hand men, unquote.
And Black Sabbath also says there's a fifth mystical member who gives them material.
Satan?
Could it be Satan?
He apparently appeared at the foot of Butler's bed after he turned his house into a Satan shrine.
Like I said.
Satan?
Yeah.
When the band comes together to play, they say it's like the songs are already written.
That's just like Eric Clapton. He thought Robert Johnson, the Crossroads Demon guy, was the greatest singer of all time, so he sang his cover. And Clapton's bandmate from Cream, Ginger Baker, said, quote, "It happens to us quite often. It feels as though I'm not playing my instrument. Something else is playing it, and that same thing is playing all three of our instruments. That's what I mean when I say it's frightening sometimes. Maybe we'll all play the same phrase out of nowhere. It happens very often with us," unquote.
Dude, that quote gave me
chills,
man. Seriously.
Weird, I know.
I mean, I feel when I play, but it's like this warm light that's there.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
totally a different thing.
It's like, this is like cold and dark and chilly when you read that. It is weird. Anyway, Ozzy thinks he's a vehicle for Satan too. He said, "I don't know if I'm a medium for some outside source. However, it is frankly, I hope it's not what I think. Satan."
Could it be
Satan? Ozzy had a 16th century book of black magic in Latin and practiced magic himself. He says the book made a figure appear by his bed.
Satan?
And when he... All right, and when his bandmate tried to get the book from the cupboard where Ozzy had stored it, the book had disappeared. He even talks about this big black demon appearing to him in his songs.
Satan? Ozzy even laughs demonically. He's scary to watch perform, so only look up this stuff with care. And Sharon said something came over Ozzy when he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. He tried to kill her during what sounds like a blackout episode. Or was it the demon inside him who did it?
Oh, man. The whole drugs. I mean, this is why also the deep state gets them to do all the drugs and everything else, because they know that this stuff brings this stuff in. This demonic stuff has always been going on, whether we all know about it or not. Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant says he has a jar of dirt taken from the crossroads of highways 49 and 61, you know, the same spot where Robert Johnson,
Zero.
Yeah, supposedly talked to the demonic, made the demonic deal. Plant and Jimmy Page made a song called Walking into Clarksdale about that crossroads demon.
Page would burn candles in the pitch black, waiting for something to come through. On stage, he pointed a bow at the 4 cardinal directions like a wand, like Satanists do to invoke demonic spirits and Lucifer. Plant and Page admitted Stairway to Heaven was written all at once, as if they didn't write it themselves. Their songs reference Crowley, and there are demonic words that come out when you play their songs backwards. You know how you do that with stuff Obama says? Same thing with their songs.
Yeah. Well, backwards music actually explains why some singers have weird inflections, pronunciations, or kind of shrieky voices. Some claim they've trained to say certain things this way because they're born into it or part of a satanic cult. It's possible some might be a coincidence. You know, I mean, sometimes when you play something backwards, it's like, you know, maybe a coincidence. However, when you listen to them and hear what they say, it just seems that it's not a coincidence. There's some sort of demonic possession.
This is why all of this goes beyond MK Ultra or devotion to a satanic ideal. Maybe one person in a lifetime of people would be born smart enough to plan these backward words and incredible lyrics, notes, and sheer musical power. But over and over, song after song, artist after artist, it's totally mathematically impossible for this to be a coincidence.
Some of these guys do seem to be trying to out-evil each other. I mean, Alice Cooper has a friendly competition with Marilyn Manson, who Cooper says is a priest in the Church of Satan. Now, Manson was a good friend of Anton LaVey, the Church of Satan's founder, and Cooper, Manson, and get this, Johnny Depp, all collaborated on a vampire album, and after they met in the vampire capital of the world, Transylvania.
You people are cheesy.
I think they're
You seriously are the cheesiest people ever.
They're called the Hollywood Vampires, I think, is the name of the band.
That's so bad. Alice Cooper shared on Facebook a now deleted article, 10 real-life demonic possessions that will give you nightmares, with the caption, "I'm not sure what to think about demonic possession. Do you guys think it's real? These stories might convince you." And back in the day, he also tried to get the Muppets to sell their souls for fabulous riches and worldwide fame.
What? Don't think it's all doom and gloom for celebs, though.
Yeah, one of our contacts said David Bowie is one of the guys who reportedly cleaned himself up in the end. He saw the light and turned his life around.
Yeah, we know someone who played with Bowie in the 90s and the 2000s, and it seems that Bowie really changed as he got older and mellowed out. This person even told us that Bowie said to him that he was glad that they didn't meet in the 70s and 80s. So Bowie did seem to go through a change, and actually this is when he completely got off drugs during this time. So I think when he became sober, he really realized a lot of things that he was doing and became a very different person.
So really, anyone who finds themselves lost can find a way out, like Dave Mustaine. And we know of others too in the metal genre who are still using their music to expose what's happening, but don't want to be public about it yet.
Or at least just yet. Although we really encourage them to start coming out. Now is the time to come out. But well, guys, it seems like there are more and more examples of celebrities letting demons in. And we're just getting started. But YouTube will take this down if we continue too heavily.
So check out the rest of this episode on edgeofwonder.tv, and also exclusive second and third episode about celebrity possession on there. We get into Jim Morrison, Eminem, Prince, the real possession behind the drug LSD, and so much more.
And are there good celebrities fighting this demonic possession? Ones who's aware of what's going on? You're not going to want to miss our story about none other than Eddie Murphy. So until then, we will see you guys out
On the edge
of Celebrity Madness.